There was I was in drafting classes pretty much all the way high school, technical drafting, architectural drafting, with two and three. And even if you were off by like just like a centimeter on on one calculation, the whole drawing was messed up. Instead of just marking you just like on the one thing you messed up, it was just they basically just traced the whole drawing over for you in red. And it was really kind of like a come on guys, like I just missed this one line right here, but no, they make sure that you know how bad you did, so you won't do it again. And it really is very beneficial because you don't want someone like that to go easy on you. You want them to press you harder to be better and to do better.
Yeah, I've obviously done a lot of 3D modeling and stuff, but I wasn't too sure what they're doing with 3D printing these days.
Mm.
I mean, I know that the printer that they got's no joke. I think it's like an $80,000 unit.
Jesus.
That's not something you go to Home Depot and pick up.
No, or it's actually quite hilarious. Every now and then you flip through channels and you just see something that you watch and you just kind of just you watch it for no reason, right? So I always watch tech channels in the mornings. Always kind of cool technology shows when you're a kid, on Saturday mornings. And there was this one I watched, had to been like like 12 years ago, and I was just flipping through the channels, and it was literally like actually might have been 20 years ago. It were these guys that made the first 3D printer, right? And so they're describing their technology in like this like science fair, and they didn't really have any idea they didn't know what the implications were of it yet. So they made this little Buddha, right, on a 3D grid, and what it did was this thing scanned it. It scanned the device. It went over into this other batch of like wax, like maybe like 5 feet away, and it would kind of like burn to the wax. And what it did was it would just burn, and it would just burn this Buddha, like basically just one for one dimensions. And like, oh, so what is this? Is this like a teleporter? And they're like, we don't really know what it is. We kind of, we make something here, and we can design it, and we can make it over here. And these guys were like, 25 years old and didn't really know that they had this an amazing technology for them. But they're like, oh, we just kind of did this, and it was really cool. And so nowadays, you see it kind of build up from like, from like layers of whatever cerbit we're using, and they build it up. This thing actually melted down. It was so cool. And I was like, oh my God, what is that? And no one really could figure it out. Then like years later, they started, sending prints to Africa and making bikes and making wrenches and making tools and like basically just sending people like, devices and tools later with it. Like, oh, this is what the implications were. It was so funny seeing them work their way processes. And when they were asked what it was, they're like, we don't really, we really don't know what it is. It's really cool. And they're like, so how are you gonna market this? Like, yeah, we don't really know, but we know that we have a long way ahead of us figuring it out. And then today, obviously, that's like, it's amazing technology. Just to think of like, say if someone's on Mars, if Elon Musk needs to get these guys like a 5-star ping wrench, we don't have to fly it. They can build it there with a 3D printer, and obviously with things like other countries like where they don't have access to bikes, they can 3D print a bike. I see a guy 3D print a Lamborghini car mod for his car. Literally in his own factory, made his car in a Lamborghini by printing out the dimensions and the sizes to fit over his car. It was the implications are limitless. It's pretty
Well,
cool.
that's actually one of the main things Elon Musk did in order to lighten the weight on the Dragons,
Okay.
because there's a essential cargo bay for essential backup parts. Like if something goes wrong, you need this to get back. And you have to have one backup of all these things, and that's a lot of material. So exploring the realms of multi-composition 3D printing, they just said, well, let's just bring enough material to make a couple backups of anything,
Gotcha.
just 3D print it on demand. And that saved so much space.
Sure.
Because when you're up there, just like every like pound is money, you know?
Sure. Just
So
the payload to get you in the air, to get you out of the atmosphere. You're absolutely right.
yeah. So, and just that little pound and stuff can like really throw you for a loop. So they emptied out a whole inventory list of stuff because they only gave you enough material to print what you needed. You didn't have to bring a backup of everything.
Okay, guys. So we got a big chapter this week. We're going to get started. I'm going to share my screen and show you something I saw today. Actually, I saw it yesterday. Like I've been just kind of pondering on it, and I really want to share with you guys what I saw and what we're going to see more in the future. Okay. So right here, let me see if this comes up. Can you guys see my screen? Can you all see my screen? Okay. So what we have here, it's a new malware. So Joker isn't a specific malware. It's pretty much a group of people, and how they figure these names out. People, friends of friends. Like again, these are very much not the white hat or gray hat people. These are the people that are really trying to aggressively attack your devices. So now Joker malware, what this group has done has made a new set of malware that basically you think you're downloading like backgrounds for your phone, or you're downloading, ringtones, things like that. And it's hidden itself into specific parts of GitHub, which is a very generic place where people go to get photos and apps and things like that. This is on the Google Play Market. I like Google Play Market because it's so expansive, but again, it's not like Apple where everything's vetted. Like there's so much there, they can't vet everything. So basically, it's a sandbox with a lot of different, spikes and razor blades in the sand. So you take it for what it is. So what this thing has done is they're actively trying to find ways to spy on you. Now, when you think of spying, people think, oh, they turn my camera on, or they'll turn my microphone on and hear what I'm saying. Yeah, they could do that, but there's not a whole lot they can get from you if you're not like Kim Kardashian or if you're not like a star, right? So they send this wide, huge net out to people, and what they're actually doing is using keylogger applications. And what a keylogger application is this. Basically, it sends out this text file that opens up on your device and their device, and you don't see what's happening. And as you go places like, usbank.com, it basically writes down the steps of what you're doing and transmits it to the place where they are. So basically it'll say, hey, I went to Yahoo. Hey, this was the username. This was the password. And basically they get this information from you. They don't automatically go there and then start changing things. They kind of find ways to get into your system. They'll go in there, they'll check out, they'll log in, they'll see if they, if you have money in your account. Now, obviously, with things like two-step authentication, where you can use your phone, or they have to send you an email, like obviously that totally secures you out of it. But a lot of people skip past that and don't do the double authentication. I know I'm talking to both of you. I know you've probably done this before. You skip past the double authentication. It is a big deal. Like here within the state, we have 3 layers. And so sometimes even randomly, it'll ask me what's my dog's name or my mother's maiden name. Like it will just literally, even though it's only the 2, every randomly it'll be the 3. So it's kind of a big deal. So what they can end up doing is they basically have just think of like a text file with what you type to people, what sites you go to, and what you use for login names and passwords. It could be a big deal. It could be access to your Venmo. It could be access to your PayPal. It could be access to your Amazon. I mean, all those things are trackable. I'm sure they're trying to mitigate, how to leverage it, but they are still actively collecting that data, if that makes sense. So just keep in mind, when you're going out getting things as simple as, just getting a screensaver or just getting, like a music video, these things they're starting to embed places where you go. And they're not doing it on places like Apple, they're doing it places like the Android market because it's so widespread and so lackadaisy on the security for the applications, kind of like, play at your own risk. Just so you know that that's what they're kind of doing. Right now, I've been asked to change my password for the last 2 weeks from my network. I'm going to go ahead and do it every 3 months, man. Every 3 months, make it a point to change your passwords around. Find some way of finding an algorithm which you'll know, which is what I do. That way, even no matter where I am, when I change passwords, they're all kind of the same in an algorithm that I'll know how to figure them out. So the only way we're all going to get through this. So I saw that, thought I'd share that with you guys. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go through the first couple of pages of the cybersecurity chapter, and a lot of these first 3 pages of the new chapter, chapter 6, really deals with things that I work with hand in hand with my network guys. So they call it the 5 9's, right? So 5 9's, basically what they're trying to tell you is your network can be elite, like healthcare and government, as long as you are available 99.999% of the time. I'm telling you right now, I work for many hospitals, John Muir, Queen of the Valley, in the state. It's not possible. You always want to strive for the best possible, but from what I've seen, I've never seen this ever really. I've never ever seen anybody ever successfully make this happen, if that makes sense. So once you know, when the people say they strive for the 5 9's, that's what it means. They want to be basically down 5 minutes out of the year. And you gotta remember, what we even with just patching, or even like with a power failure. I mean, sometimes someone takes out Comcast down the street, so even if you can't get outside the internet, as long as your network is up, you're still okay. But it all goes into their algorithm of what it means. And sometimes being a network people, they base your bonuses and they base your compensation, on the years past, if how long your network was up or down for. So people think, that this only really applies to like military or hospitals. Like, no, it doesn't. So when I worked in the wine industry as their IT person, I was their network security person. When Comcast went down and we couldn't get outside, that means we couldn't get orders. So literally, I have about 30 people here that can physically they can clean the warehouse up. But if we can't put wine in a box, we're not making any money. So literally, it's on me. The pressure's on to tell them, what's the mitigated loss? Like, how long are we down for? If Comcast won't give me a straight answer, what do I tell my manager? Hey, we're down all day, send them home. Well, we already get paid them for 4 hours because they showed up, right? 30 people at 4 hours is a pretty big deal of not getting any money out. So it's a lot of pressure. And then say, okay, if we do that, will it be up tomorrow? So if they come in tomorrow, they also get 4 hours. Being a guy that doesn't, I don't work for Comcast, I work for, desktop support. How could I give them that answer? But again, you become that link in the chain where you have to under promise and over deliver. And that was always my way of getting through. So basically, if it's going to take 4 hours, you tell them 8. If it's going to take you 1 day, you tell them 2. Because if you tell them 1 day and it takes you more than 1 day, you look really bad. And they've already structured all the money and all the time of the day based on your projections. So if you come in under, you're a hero. If you come in over, you've basically failed in all of their eyes. So a good term to remember in almost any project you do is under promise, over deliver. No matter what it will take you, even if it takes you 5 minutes, tell them half an hour. And if you get done in an hour, tell them 2, because you have to give your buffer of testing and making sure things are up. And people, HR, finance, administration, they're all looking on you to have that moment of time. Because if I tell them 1 hour, okay, we'll keep all the guys around here, we won't send anybody home. With it taking 2 hours, now I've cost them that much more labor, that much more time of not getting anything done. And me just wanting to be a guy to show them a positive message. If I can't be straight with them on what times are going to be done, they can't manage or project the money that's coming in or going out. So remember that with the whole things with ethics and the way you project yourself, you really have to make sure that you mitigate that. And remember, these are your calls to make, but always make sure you undersell how long it will take you. That way you always have that buffer to make sure it's upright. So when Comcast told me they'd be up in 2 hours, I told them 4. And even though they were up in less than 2 hours, they kept everybody there. I had to give myself that buffer to be like, even if they're there and things are up, I still have to check everything. I have to make sure all my systems are up. I got to reboot all the systems. Some things running on DHCP, that has to be fleshed out again. A lot of things are static, not a big deal. But, you have to give yourself that time. I would go down, during this downtime, I ran updates on machines, made myself look busy and useful. But again, there's 30 people standing around not doing anything. So to bring it back into healthcare, there was a time we did an upgrade for the phone switch at Cleveland Valley Hospital, right? They told us the upgrade would take about 4 hours. We told the county, like Napa County, it would take 8. Being the only real emergency center in Napa County, if there was a problem with our phone system, there was an accident, we couldn't call anybody. These are where, your internal issues become issues for the whole county. And not just our system, like say you were some kind of farm that has some kind of outbreak of something. There are people, like communication's a big deal, for everything that you do. So if anything is going down, you have to make sure that everybody's protected, and you have to make sure that you always mitigate that loss by making sure you give clear and precise projections. And the only way to do that is to give yourself the time to not only get the job done, but buffer yourself in case it goes wrong. In IT, that's a huge deal because everything is based on you. And you want to see the pressure of 300 eyeballs looking at you because they depend on you get things up and running. Even though things aren't your fault or you have no control of them, they still look to you for those answers. So again, ethics, mitigating loss, and just, not trying to be too sunny. But like I said, always cover the CYA, cover your booty. That's all I can tell you about that. So now that we know what the 5 9's are, that is totally unattainable, but we still strive for it. You can see on the left-hand column where it says availability, 99% of the time, Think about that. 99% of the time in a year means that your system was down for 87 hours, right? That's equivalent of like what, 4 days? It's a pretty big deal, right? Even though you think 1 day every 3 months, not a big deal. But as long as you do those things in off hours, hopefully you have a job where, that is 9 to 5. Because guys like us in IT and networking, all of our work is done from 6 to 4 in the morning. Like that's when we get our stuff done. Not only get it done, but again, when we're done at 4 in the morning, I have to make sure to tell the people that are coming on the next shift, like, hey, we've done this is all good, and this is all tested. That way, at 8 o'clock in the morning, people show up to work. And if not, I got everybody else know at 4:30 a.m. not to come in because things aren't ready. So again, it gets to, communication. When things are having a problem, you really have to make sure you communicate up the levels of a chain of command so everyone knows what's happening. And in the heat of the moment, especially when you're clearing out a virus or there's a network issue down, as fast and hard as you're working, communicating is the biggest thing. Because even here on the West Coast, sometimes businesses, have stuff in the Midwest and the East Coast. And so they might be coming in earlier than you are to a problem. And so whenever we're doing our work, make sure your communication with either the PR people or your CIO or anyone that has to communicate or is the single point of contact for what's happening. Because if they call you and you haven't checked in 2 hours and you're really flustered and you can't figure things out, well, they needed that time to help you get that information and get you that help. And now that you took in this time because you were flustered, now they don't have the time to get things working anymore. And now you are kind of like on the hot seat. So the only way to really buffer yourself, again, is give yourself that under promise, over deliver, and make sure you communicate everything. It really will save your life in this position. It will save your job. And as long as you communicate, they can't be upset with you because you haven't hidden anything, even though it's not your fault. You have to communicate. So on to this next slide. As we talked again with finance, healthcare, public safety, media industry, I don't have a whole lot of knowledge with, but retail, like I said, like if there's a problem, like say when say the guys that found the E. coli in the lettuce on their farm, if they weren't able to communicate, find out what's happening in time, you put a lot of people at risk, and exponentially as time goes by, more and more people are at risk. So again, it comes into ethics and keeping your network up. That way communication is flowing free, and PR can tell people like, hey, call all the Safeways, please recall all your lettuce because this is a problem. So again, here we are with ethics, under promising, over delivering, communication. Big deal in any industry you go into. And as much as you might not think about it, wherever you go, a lot of those industries kind of interconnect with these 5. So it's kind of a big deal. And as we talked about before, there's so many reasons that might not be your fault. Human error, like so say a Comcast guy hit a power line. Hardware failures. Sometimes hardware, the switches go down. They lose their CPUs. They have no power. You can't get things on the network. Sabotage, cyber attacks, software errors, all kind of same things. You work with a vendor. Like say you have a piece of software like that does like your shipping, and that software is down, so you can't ship anything out. Again, that's not your fault. You're working with the vendor to make things happen. But again, it's on you as a network person to be able to, or the networking applications, to be able to clearly let the CIO know how long he'll be down for, what the root cause of the problem is, and what the possible outage time is be. Again, communication in our job is the biggest deal. I know even desktop support, replacing monitors if there's software issues. If you don't talk to someone after a couple of days and they put a ticket in with you or a work order with you, they're gonna go up the command. They're gonna tell your managers, and they'll find supervisors, ask them what's going on. And we do so many in a day, we think it's not a big deal. But Susan not be able to get her work done because this application's not working is a big deal. She's getting paid by your company. You're getting paid to support her so that she can do her job. So as much as you think that these things aren't a big deal, like her mouse is just not working or something, these have huge implications, not only when it comes to the eyes of her managers, but eyes of her not getting her job done. And when it comes down to the bottom line, that's all lost money, lost time. So you gotta remember that as well. That's basically the first 3 slides I want to go over with you guys today. I know the holidays are coming up. I'm gonna give you guys a lot of time to finish this chapter up and get your quiz done. We remember the week of Thanksgiving, we are off. So the Thursday and Friday, I will not have email or class, but I will be able to help you guys on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday with emails back and forth. Ask me anything you need with any kind of job-related stuff, resume stuff, anything you want to know about this course, please call me, please email me and I'll write you back. I want to give you guys all this time right now to go ahead and finish up this lesson and take your time. and I'll be here with you if you guys need help. Okay, this is the left-handed mug, but so when you do get to be a network administrator, make sure you have this mug on tap because you'll probably be using this a whole lot. That's how the day is going.
By the way, just following off last week's meeting, this week has just been completely and utterly nuts, but I wanted to start researching. Dude, I couldn't get anything done this week.
Okay.
It's just
You're
been nuts.
Yeah.
But I wanted to look into setting up a DMZ. And
okay, cool.
What's the process of doing that? And I also wanted to follow up with you. Did you ask your boys what's a good firewall system to like learn and grow with?
Yeah, you know what I did? I asked them twice, and I've been working remotely. Sometimes desktop guys are kind of hard to get a hold of, like specifics on a work order. So I'm gonna have to like show up on the office on Friday. I'm basically gonna knock some heads around like, hey guys, I asked you a question a while ago. What's going on? So I did ask the guys, but I've gotten a reply back, and I've not been up on getting a reply for you. But I will get it this week for you. Okay?
Yeah, it's all that proprietary knowledge, man. I'm just asking too much. I understand.
No, you're good, man. No, like I said, like they just use outside software anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah, I laugh. They come back and they're like, got Cisco switches and stuff that they pulled off jobs. I'm like, no, that's not what I was asking. All right.
So again, the first part of the question was the DMZ. How to set up a DMZ. So if you have like a D-Link router or Netgear, they all have like a web-based area you can go to for DMZ. So what DMZ means is demilitarized zone, and what it really does is it's basically things that you use like gaming and things that actively interface with open networks that need a little bit more heightened security. So basically, what it can do is if you put say your PS4 is on a static IP address, right? You put it on your DMZ. So when you're playing the games, it goes somewhere outside of your network, if that makes sense. So all this outpatient traffic doesn't get filtered, doesn't get like really clean because it's working outside your network, meaning whatever happens in this area won't affect the rest of your network. So you can go out there, you can like basically you and your friend were like having like a file share, you guys were playing like a game together, like a .NET. You can go in this little part of your area which you cut out, and the way you do it is when you go into your DMZ on your like your D-Link, it'll ask you, like by MAC address, put this device into this DMZ. So basically what it means is once that happens, you can't transfer files from anywhere else on the network. They kind of go in this little subnetwork place where they can't affect anything else but themselves, but also allows them to freely traffic things back and forth very quickly. So what it will do is it takes things that are very forward facing on your network out of it so that they can basically communicate in a place where they can't affect the rest of your network, if that makes sense. And almost every router that you'll go to will give you the option to set this up. All they want to know is the MAC address. The best way to do that is just go to your leases and you'll see your PS4, you'll see your phone, you'll see all your devices there, and just take that MAC address, put it in the DMZ, and now that thing is not talking on your network, which means, so if your phone's on your network, you actually can go through your phone through, through IP address, actually pull things off it, pull photos, pull images, pull videos. Once this happens, you can't access it from the network anymore, but you can access it within the subnetwork, if that makes sense. It's super simple to do. You don't need any special software to do it. All you have to do is go to your main IP router, and it'll already have this DMZ set up, and you just put it in by Mac, and that's all that really does for you guys. But if you're a big gamer, it's kind of a big deal, especially computer gaming. It's a big deal, because if you're playing League of Legends with somebody and they have some kind of backdoor in your system, they can see your whole network, right? Obviously, you're playing with friends, you think it's not a big deal, but you've seen the videos where people will call you from Call of Duty on your landline asking for the kid's mom because the kid was cussing. Like, once you expose your network to people, people are at home. You don't have a huge, a very huge, robust security system, so they can actually access a lot more than you think that they can. So DMZ will help limit that, especially with the most forward-facing devices and software you use that will access to the public.
Now, you said League of Legends, which is PC exclusive, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
How do you put your PC on a DMZ without worrying too much?
Same thing. Like I said, sometimes you can do it while you're playing. What might be a way to do it. I'm not a big gamer like that. Like, I use my consoles for gaming. I'm kind of like a weirdo like that. But again, if you're gonna play League of Legends, you can put your Mac into a DMZ while you're playing the game. But some guys will play 10 hours at a time. It's not for the very casual gamer. Like, so you can play for an hour or so at a time. Not that big a deal. But if you're gonna play for extended amount of time with extended users, extended players, probably a good idea to get a DMZ during that time. And just literally, it might seem like hard the first couple of times you do it, but once you get your IP down, you have your Mac down, it's super simple to transfer back and forth with the software. It's pretty legit, but it's definitely a very smart way of doing it, especially if you don't use the VPN hiders, things like that with the I can't even use the words.
IP scrubber.
Yes, you can use things like that. That will also help. Again, you pay for the service, so. The DMZ is a little harder, it's a little more intrusive for you, a little more time for you to do, but it's just as safe, if not safer. It's just a little more work on your end.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just part of the stuff that I wanted to get on. I was just trying to find out what brain to kind of put it all together with. I'm leaning on going onto the Synology firewall that they have.
Yeah, you saw the trial, right? The trial is going pretty good still.
Which trial?
You had the trial, correct? You had the trial of the Synology. Is that what you were saying last week?
Synology. Yeah. No, I've got what have I got? I've got a external NAS system,
mm-hmm.
But I want to put my network on a Synology firewall.
Gotcha.
It's kind of one of the things I was looking at. It's about a $250 unit. It's not anything overly excessive.
Mm-hmm.
But it just uses Synology's protection secret source that they have,
mm-hmm.
That they use for everything else, which is pretty good. So I think they're just trying to get into the home market with the system.
Sure.
And then just kind of work with that. But, I was just interested to hear what, other people that kind of do this the regular way, so to speak. I've got a horrible habit of breaking the mold. Yeah.
Right. And good. I mean, that's good and bad. I mean, like I said, a big part of it is finding people that have, a robust network of people because they're seeing more attacks. They're finding ways to kill them more. So I'm emailing these guys again to ask what the heck's going on, okay? Because I asked them 2 weeks ago and I haven't got a reply back, but I haven't been in the office yet either, so I'm working from home. So I'll get that for you, I promise, John.
Yeah, out of all honesty, I'm buttoning up everything I can over here. I don't feel I've put myself out digitally to, flag myself much. I'm susceptible just as anyone else is, with the anonymity that we have.
Yeah, definitely. I'll find out what's going on. It's just hard with those guys. I mean, they're so inundated with work. I mean, you got to think, a normal IT desktop guy, they probably have 400 PCs, 400 users that they deal with themselves. Network guys as well, and not being there, it's kind of hard to get them, to get any kind of priority on them. But when I go in this week on Friday, I'll definitely knock their heads around and see what's going on. I'll get that info for you.
Yeah, I'll just appreciate that. I'm I want to start getting something so I can start, putting everything together, locking up. I keep warning everybody, you got to look under the bed for the boogeyman, and here I'm with my feet above the air, I think there's a boogeyman there.
I'll tell you what though, I'm not gonna be surprised if this happens. So when I get home, I rarely use my PC. But if I'm not working on someone's PC for a side job, I don't touch computers. I just, after 8 hours, I'm kind of burnt out. Kind of guys work at a pizza shop, they don't eat pizza when they go home. And so I'm sure a lot of network guys, they get home, they're just I don't have a network in my house, I don't deal with that stuff. But a lot of guys that do it are guys that, that don't work in the network industry, or it's not their main job. So I'll find out for sure, man. But I wouldn't be surprised if women like me, when I get home, people ask me what's the best PC, what's the best Alienware, what do you like? I'm like, dude, I go home, I don't touch any of these things. I help my family, I help my nephews out. I'll work on side jobs. Other than that, I stay away from screens. If it's not football or some stuff on Netflix, I'm not even in front of it, man.
Yeah, well, I had to have a laugh with your man last week. He's sitting there. He's worked in cyber ops, and he's had $10,000 units so that he could extract information. And he's sitting there with a little Nighthawk.
Dude, I'm telling you, you'd be surprised, dude. That when they get home, what they don't invest in themselves. I'm telling you, if you sit in front of this, I mean, it might even be underwhelming. You go home. I've been in rooms before, I'm sure you have as well, where the server farms are taller than me, wider than me, and they're just racked up 100 at a time. And I get home and I don't even care. You know what I mean? He's putting a $300,000 lab set up in Santa Rosa. That's pretty cool. He gets home, he's yeah, I got a Nighthawk. Yeah. It's dude, you're a cyber ops aficionado. What are you doing? Yeah, don't worry about it.
Well, what are they going to attack me? What are they going to get? Some pictures of me on vacation?
Exactly. That's it.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll bring him back probably last week. He has some real good heads up. I know he's really focused on going the route of going through a full 2-year school. I'm telling you, a lot of guys in my industry don't. I'm going to tell you right now, in Sutter Health, hardly any of the people that work in network have gone to school for it. All of them have went through Cisco classes and training, have got done in 6 months to a year. None of them have AAs or BAs or anything. Usually when it comes to getting your degrees and getting your masters, that's more for management. And management, the fact that you're the guy for that speaks to the business. You're the guy that manages the people. You're not the guy that manages the software, manages the applications. Those guys all went to trade schools. So I don't want to stop him because he definitely does for a living, and he trains people for a living to do this job. I'm here to tell you that I know from a fact, being in the healthcare system, that people that work with me didn't go to school. People with me didn't go for 2 years schools. They went through 3-6 months through Cisco and got certified. Because at the end of the day, they don't care what school with. They want your cert. And either if you go through 2 years of school, it's the same cert. So why would you? I'm all for being a better person. I'm going to go into college and getting your degree because it just works through everything in the world. But you don't need it. If that makes sense to you.
Well, I think with computers in particular, this type of stuff, this type of work is mostly, it's not so much theory as it is practice. You gotta do it. You gotta work it repetitively. And the reason why you would go to school to become a lawyer is because you're not practicing law at breakfast time in your house.
Sure.
As a computer, you may be playing video games. You may be talking to other people how they get their computer bigger and beefier, and you may get a virus and have to learn how to deal with it, and so on. So you're actually learning on a day-to-day basis. So you're having the time, you're putting the time in to learn a computer. So you already have that fundamental, and then you go and you get a job. I'm going to say it's repetitive. I know it's complicated stuff, but for the most part, the pathway is very much the same. You just may take a different corridor or something.
And you said it too, like, so if you're in class with your students, I mean, sorry, with your classmates, you're gonna learn the ways they think about things. Like, you're both looking at the same puzzle, but with 30 different eyes, and then you get to actually see what they're doing and think about things differently. So that does make a lot of sense to be in a classroom learning these things, because they'll bring up questions you never even thought to ask. And so, like, you're getting all the answers of all the questions you didn't even know you needed the whole time. So you're right, it absolutely does, will help you on that path. But so does being in a trade school, learning it that way too. So I don't want anyone to feel like they were being thrown off, like I was being misled. I'm telling you, like, you can do it either way you want to do it. Depends on how you want to do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. As I said, I'm just, I don't want to talk about it like go down the conventional route. I sort of have a background in something. This is my little icing on the cake to make my future and my future clients secure and more safe. I think everything is going on the network. I need to learn this stuff. I need to get down and just get into it a little bit more. And especially, I think, with everyone working from home now, this is going to become. I do a lot of audio AV. That's most of my thing. But having your home network secure is just. It's not going to be a secondary thing. It's probably going to be a primary thing, followed by a secondary audio AV system.
Sure. And think about this too, like we talk about devices and DMZ, you might want to put your IoTs in there. You want to put your fridge in there. You want to put your TV in there. They can talk the network and not worry about compromising your special applications and your own in your own files and your pictures and all of your private information. If you put those things on the internet, like the IoT thing is out there in the DMZ, they can talk all they want to the internet and not divulge anything of that's on your network, which is probably a really good idea. Especially like you said, you see the fridge will tell you, like, have like your shopping list on it and talk to your phone. Well, that's not being tracked at all, but who knows, this one gets into your network, they can go into something like as stupid as a fridge to compromise your whole network. So things like that should be placed on the outside, like your Sonos, put that on the DMZ, put all of those things outside of where you need to transfer your actual network and all your personal files are.
By the way, I don't use Sonos. I'm Klipsch loyal.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But Klipsch, amazing sound, but technology.
Yeah, we used it at the bar. My only usage of it has been like in restaurants. I see two bars that I bartend that they both use it. It's pretty cool to use your phone to do it. But other than that, I mean, I don't see anything special about it myself. But I'm not a big aficionado on those things.
I prefer the reason why I like the phone, the Wi-Fi connection to the speakers, is because if your phone rings, for example, and you're on Bluetooth, then all your speakers ring.
That's gotta be super annoying. I can only imagine.
Yeah. So the nice part about the Wi-Fi thing is that you can still use and operate your phone, and then it's actually not using your phone to play music. It's just your phone is telling it where to go to get the music, if that makes sense.
It does. It goes to your links, and you have to have a Sonos subscription to do it as well, right? Your own subscription for it as well.
Yeah. You need something like, say you got Spotify, for example. You can have the Sonos app, which is free, but then you link your Spotify account, which would be like, what, $9 a month?
Yeah.
And then it goes onto your web browser like that, but then the Sonos is now given permission to go to a web browser out there in internet land.
Yes.
And then you can forget to turn your speaker off, you turn your phone off, and then it's still playing somewhere out there, and somebody doesn't know what the hell's going on.
Right. Yeah. I've been asked, by bosses before, by good friends before, to install keyloggers on like ex-girlfriends. ex-employees machines and been offered money. And I'm like, even some of my best friends, you know, I'm like, look, dude, it's not worth where this is going to take you. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna do it for you flat out, but you shouldn't find anybody else to do it for you either. You
No.
know, this is such a big deal. Like, this is, I don't even know. Like, I mean, obviously, I'm not trying to get like personal, like, you know, like payment credit card information, but spying on people, like, you know, these carry serious consequences. You know, and like people that like the Joker group, they're casting big wide nets. And when these guys start getting caught, they're all gonna go down. You know, it's a
Yeah.
pretty big deal of what's gonna happen to these guys, especially because, you know, when people hack, they talk. You know, then these groups of people, they're, you know, said between black, white, and gray hats. You know, some people are very ethical, some people are very unethical. So,
Well, they'll use the standard procedure. They'll get the weakest link, and then they'll give him half amnesty as long as you get the one guy up, and the domino effect.
yeah,
You know?
we're gonna get you a job. You're gonna see no jail time. Okay, I'll speak, and that's what happens.
Yeah. We'll make you a consultant so you can pay your debt back.
They dangle that in front of you for sure.
Yeah, no, dude, I used to live with a law enforcement officer. They don't think like normal people. It's like they're always on it, dude. As far as if you don't wear a badge, yeah, they're interrogating you every time they meet you, even if you're out for drinks with them.
Yep, sure, I'll bet.
Yeah, and they're good at getting information out of you. They know how to do it. So they catch one person, you know, stitches get stitches or whatever the saying is. I don't know. Cool. But yeah. Any updates on the hospital stuff? With them taking control of the networks?
So I haven't seen anything new. I haven't seen any other big chains. Like Kaiser's still okay, Sutter's still okay. I know that we're fine. My boys said they're okay. My state's okay. Like I said, what Sonoma did was they just went and they went and but gas guys built a whole new network for them. They brought a new hardware, and then they just went and configured it. It was the fast way to do it. And I think they were actually considering giving money to these ransom people, but I think they were told not to. It was on the news. They were told not to because they weren't going to be guaranteed what they would get, and the police weren't going to step in to help them, and that's all uninsured money. So I know about Sonoma. They're back online now. I have family that works there, and they're working again. But again, everything's like brand new. Network file shares gone. Like, you know, lots they got from emails would be the best way to get it.
So have they kind of figured out how everything got compromised? I mean, there's obviously a gazillion ways how it could have happened.
No, like I said, it was probably a phishing scam. They haven't released to the media what got, you know, how they got compromised. But we do know, you know, that they're gonna pay a hefty fine for every single PHI, every single person that was hacked. It can get $1,000, you know, from the health system that they were hacked. That's like the minimal fine.
Can hospitals be insured for that type of thing?
You can get anything insured. I don't know. I guess it would come down to costs and mitigate, you know, versus when it happens. So see, someone's been around for what? I was born there, 1980. Yeah. So let's say they've been down there for at least, you know, 40 years. I will say 60. And this only happened the one time. So how much the way they have paid in the last 40 years in insurance versus the one time this happens now? I know they have to mitigate those numbers, and there's guys who crunch it down for them. Obviously, the bigger you get, the more the state will make you do that. Now, I don't think someone's based on any kind of chain, so it's not that big a deal. But when you come to, you know, multiple millions of customers is when you're kind of mandated to get this type of insurance. Because like when they went to Sutter, it was $1 billion, you know, fine because it was for the people. You know, we could cover it. You know, could Sonoma Hospital do that? Probably not. So at some point, when you can't cover your losses, there's probably need to make that. There's probably some algorithm. If you can't cover 40% of the losses and you have to get insurance and it has to be this much, I'm sure that there's some number for doing it, and it comes down to choice. I know they didn't have a very robust system of people there. I know they didn't have a very big, robust network or IT team. So, you know, that's also kind of playing with fire, you know.
Yeah.
You think of like the wineries and stuff like now, like they don't have a whole lot of money to spend on those things. And it's just unfortunate that when it actually does happen, that's the weakest link, is their security. And you think of things like wine clubs, like your credit card information is stored there. Like they have your credit card information.
I actually did ask about that. There's they use a third party for that.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you store all of your clients' contact info and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the credit, because my girlfriend is a wine club manager.
Sure.
She has zero access. She can send a request to process something, but she has zero access to credit card information. Sure. It's gone through a third party. It's hashes and everything. She doesn't. She can't duplicate it, and I think only the wine club member can change or edit their card. I need to check that part, but I know once it's in the third party handles. That's fine, but it's the actual. I think it's like a third-party CRM that they use, and they take the responsibility of looking after things. But with that said, I've heard through other people that this valley is not techie.
Right. So the weirdest thing was, I worked for a winery, and again, like I said, I wasn't privy to that part of that side of it. I know there's wine club managers there. I didn't get to see how they build anything like that, but you probably have seen, right, like an AWS service is all done up there. Being in the wine shipping industry, we never had control of the wine clubs, but I know that we yearly build our customers and sometimes quarterly build our customers. Again, I don't know how they took that money as well, but I know at one point I had to bring up to our bank called me, was like, hey, what do you guys use it for network security? I'm like, we have a vendor that does our network. I really couldn't tell you. I'm not privy to any information. They're like, aren't you the IT guy for the West Coast? I'm like, by namesake, not title. Like I do this. I'm this guy, but that's not what my title is, type of thing. So they actually sent me this device, and it was like a network sniffing device that the bank would put on our system, and they could access it, and they were able to track any kind of payments that went in and out. And I'm like, are you sure? And so I made sure that my manager talked to the bank, like it was their bank or they knew this person, before I put it on the network. It was the craziest thing. And after like 2 weeks of it running, they were able to watch process go in and out, and it's like FIFO, first in, first out, was looking at numbers and transactions, and said that we were safe. I really don't even know what that meant. We actually put a device that they put like a sniffer on our system that they were able to access. It was kind of really weird. When I thought we didn't take payments either, but apparently we had something there, especially when we have our own customers, not the wine customers, but the wineries. And even then, it was like we billed them. We gave them like an invoice. So I really don't know, but the bank was able to see charges back and forth, and they wanted to know what was going on.
Well, you still got to pay vendors and things like that. Obviously, I'm not going to give any examples,
right?
But I have heard of account managers here in this valley. Technology in this valley is like, it drives me nuts. I want to pull my hair out. And an account manager in this valley paid for something in the six-figure marks twice to the wrong person.
Jesus.
Okay, like, I think there are people out there that know there's money here and there's zero comprehension of technology. Mm-hmm. I think they are organized syndicates attacking this valley specifically. Sure.
I mean, think about people that come here. I mean, you think of any guy that brought his wife here, or a group of people here for a conference, could find out in a half an hour probably everything we need to know from anybody in the room about what's going on. Like I've seen network administrators from the one I worked at, getting schmoozed and getting and drinking with these people. It's like, who knows what these guys are talking about in these offline conversations? Like, this guy shouldn't be customer facing. Like, what is going on here? The valley is definitely different. I think so.
Yeah, and I mean, like, one of the other companies we were helping install those Cisco switches and stuff, they had to go into those big beefy switches because they did their own phishing test to see how reliable their network was, and they came back with nearly 50% of their employees' passwords.
God, dude, that's ridiculous. Because they were just as a phishing scam, or
Well,
Like,
they deployed it themselves. Like, the guy that owns the winery, he went to school for computer science.
sure,
Like, he knows this stuff.
gotcha. So he hacked into the system and was like, so,
Yeah, so he did it himself. Well, obviously, he's got like some buddies that are really high up in Cisco. Like I told you, that guy, he sits there and you can't talk to him when he's programming because once he comes out, he screams at you.
sure.
But like he kind of ran the test, and I don't think I'm sure it was a little customized because it seems a bit high,
Sure.
but 50% came back with 50% of the passwords.
That's huge. That's
And then they're just like, and the problem is that the winery is linked up with bigger, far more profitable and lucrative things, and they're just like, you know what, it's worth investing well north of $1 million on Cisco switches, and they pulled everything out, and they pulled switches out that were 14 months old, and then but that's what you got to do. That's this valley.
right. So getting an IT job in this valley, you're definitely always gonna have a lot of work, buddy. It might not always be very fruitful, but at least you'll have it. It's not going. This valley's not getting any smarter. The winery I worked at was a very lucrative place to work at, very technology forward. I was very excited to work there. When I first got the job, I was like, oh god, the winery. It's just I just needed a check, and I was so pleasantly surprised to see how on top of things they were, especially going to the cloud with everything, having no virtual servers there, all just for networking and internet, no servers there. They wanted to have nothing on site because the fires made so much sense. I mean, they're ahead of the game on all of these things. Everyone is still like scrambling, like, oh, we have to buy these new servers. Like, why? Like, we just seen these things burnt down every single year. We need to get out of physical things. And then until fire stop happening here, it's going to be a norm. The last 4 years have proven that this is not this is
Going away.
not a weird novelty or oddity. This is the trend. This is the new norm.
And especially if you base down in St. Helena, when they turn the power off, it goes all the way up into the hills. And where are the antennas? They're in the hills.
Yep.
So no antennas, no power, no internet. You could have the best server in your building. You've got no internet. It's just funny lights flashing in the dark room.
Right. After Comcast took our thing down, we were talking about getting like a microcell and working with with some kind of it was almost like a MiFi, that runs off a cellular service, but on 10 at a time, as a backup. And it was actually pretty pricey. It came out to like $10,000 a month. And I was like, this is just too much. And he was like, well, I mean, we've already lost power, and we paid for 30 people. This has happened 3 times in the last 3 months. We would have paid for itself. And I'm like, yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts to mitigate that loss like that. To paying $10,000 a month for a backup. But then we're to go down, our service won't stop. So it's literally you're just, where's the payoff?
Well, I mean, we paid our taxes to make the infrastructure reliable. We didn't get our money's worth, and the worst part is that we're going to have to pay for the fines they got to pay. That's what's ridiculous.
Yep, absolutely right.
They're going to just hike up the rates. So we're going to have premium rates for obsolete service, which you've admitted is obsolete. And then maybe in about 5 or 6 years, granted, they're hustling here in the valley, right? Mm. Like you go down to the movie theater on, I think it's like a Sunday afternoon, and you will see those big wheels on the back of at least 20 trucks, and they've got, they are moving here.
They're trying to do the underground stuff, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, they're ripping everything as much as they possibly can, but it's like,
I was getting my daughter in Reading during last year. I took 2 years ago. She lives in Reading. I go pick her up every other weekend, and the same thing. We get a hotel there sometimes, so I go up there on Friday, stay at the hotel, and get picked up Saturday morning. And it was just lines and lines of power trucks with just those cable spindles in the back to just go lay more wire. Just like after Paradise happened, all the fires are up there. They're like, you know what? We're burying this. We're done. We're done with these power lines making fires. And I said a big part that I was upset with was PG&E's way of getting out of it is like, hey, we're not going to fix anything. We'll just turn your power off because it makes it easier, but not not helping with infrastructure. Like I get you're stopping, the fire, but now you have people that, that babies and elderly people that need the machines for CPAPs and things. It's like
Yeah.
you're creating other problems by not investing into your infrastructure.
Well, what I do know, I've got friends that are pretty aggressive in the solar power industry. And here up in North California, it's still a little difficult for them because PG&E have the most ridiculous laws. If the plot has separate buildings, but the power box is only one box, you cannot subdivide. So put solar panel on one building and not on another. You cannot do that. That's like one of the ridiculous laws PG&E have.
Sure.
But they lost that. There was a petition to change that law down in SoCal.
Mm-hmm.
So PG&E, with the Paradise Fire, they actually lost that petition. So you can do it in SoCal. That's why everyone in San Jose now is pushing solar panel, because you can actually do that. So now more big complexes in particular can get solar power. And PG&E are busy trying to cover their butts with these immediate things that all the solar power companies are now petitioning these ridiculous laws. And PG&E physically cannot combat them all. And they're losing traction immensely.
Sure.
And now it's just a little shark took a nib at the whale. There's a bit of blood, and all the little guys are going on there. Mm-hmm. And if PG&E don't figure out what to do quickly, they're going to lose a lot to renewable energy sources.
Well, they want to rate PG&E for a long time, and they should. Like I said, I'm really against for-profit based utilities, because they're putting profits over people, and that's always going to be a problem. It's going to be huge. SF couldn't even buy their own power lines back. They tried to buy them back, and they weren't able to get them. But you're right in the fact that every lawsuit that's won, everything that's won, will also be used in every future lawsuit. Like it becomes once litigation is finished, it becomes like it becomes like evidence for your next case. Like, oh, what happened here? They did this here. So literally every time they win is another smaller but a longer stepping stone to getting to where we need to be. I think, which is not reliance, but just getting it out of for-profit, I think is like the biggest thing, because it's hard to have safe infrastructure when people at the top have to pay for investors. It's not going to happen, because investors get their money first, no matter who gets blown up in a gas leak, or a fire. The people at the top are still making money, and that's a problem. Especially when you're investing, people investing got to take losses, and and some people have to go to jail for this stuff at the end of the day. So.
Yeah. I mean, like, and on the ground, all these things are happening, and then other companies, in order to run and be effective, have to spend huge, ludicrous amounts of money to make their networks safe and available.
Right.
It's like, so I'm obviously, I've yet to see a successful example of privately owned power companies in a large scale. You would maybe find them in smaller countries, I think, but in America, I think it's a little difficult to do that. I'm not saying I'm against it. If someone can figure out how to do it,
right?
If anyone can figure it out, will be E-Man Elon. But
and it's I'm not against it. I'm just against what I'm seeing and what I've been seeing, and that's a big problem. And if it comes down to that, they're paying, they pay people off before they make people are safe, then that's always going to be a problem with me. It should be a problem with everybody.
Well, I mean, like, look what happened in Paradise, for example. The woman, got a phone call saying that her power line, they got a message her power line was faulty. She's nowhere near her house.
Right.
So she can't, just go, okay, let me drive back and check the power line. It's like, and now they want to push liability on her.
Yeah.
I'm like, on what will do you come from?
That's nuts, man. I get you. Well, all right, brother. I said I got my homework to do for you. I have to get that number. I had to get that firewall information for you. I'll find someone to give me some kind of answer between here and Sutter. I got to have someone that will answer that question for me. I'll do that for you. Please get through your 5 and 6 and do your quizzes for me.
Sorry I didn't do that this week.
No problem. If people have been pretty up on their quizzes, so it's fine. But the quizzes, people have been knocking them out the park, so it's not a big deal. Yeah. I'm looking for trends and misses, so that's all I'm looking for. And if anything you want to know about from the chapter, please bring it for next week, and I'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks a lot, man.
Anytime, John. Have a good one, man.
You too. Bye.